Hi everybody, Russ from My Hammers 11. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon so you're made aware of any time I put new content on. Lots of stuff happening as always with the channel, but make sure you hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of the great stuff we've got coming up. Today's guest, another one of our Knees Up Mother Brown friends of the channel. We've had Graham, we've had Gordon, now we've got Steve. It's Steve Rio Barlow. How you doing, Steve?
I'm okay, thanks, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, thank you. Not too bad, not too bad at all. How have you been since the world turned up in its head?
Well, I work for the NHS, so I've been incredibly busy. Yeah, it's probably been busier than ever at some stage, but
Of course.
yeah, apart from wasting a lot of money on lockdown purchases of various football tops and other sporting goods, it's not been too bad.
No, I know.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing to do about it, is it? So, as you said, just got to sort of grin and bear it. And I know you.
Situation, isn't you? That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. It's it's funny, isn't it? You start wanting to buy, as you said, replica football tops and just random things because you're at home, nothing to do instead of Amazon.
Yeah.
I think my Amazon delivery driver, I think we're like personal friends now because he just he knows exactly. Brilliant.
President of Amazon.
Absolutely brilliant. I'm going to have to give him a Christmas bonus by the way this is happening this year. But our sort of obviously West Ham sort of helped us a little bit towards the end by turning out a few performances, which wasn't too shabby, and then we'll see what happens come mid-September.
Yeah, I'm not actually looking forward to the season starting as per usual. I'm just gutted we can't be there for now. But
Yeah.
I'm sure that'll do, of course.
Yeah, I'm sure eventually, isn't it? I mean, obviously there's the testings at Brighton, and there's isn't it? I think actually the week it's that weekend that the Premier League starts up. I believe it's the SPL we're having test events. There's like 3 or 4 test events that year as well. So that week, we'll see what happens in it. What will be, as you said, in it. And it's a shame that obviously people couldn't be there for the running, but thankfully, at least we're in the same division. When the fans left, that they came back to.
Yeah.
Small solaces, but yes.
You got to take that. You're a West Ham fan. You've got to take every little bit you can get. Just every little smidgen.
Yeah, someone said to me the other day, going to West Ham is a bit like a chore, particularly over the last sort of few months. But it's a chore they want to do again, and it's very true.
Yeah, I know. It's the old adage that people have come out with. It's not just a football team; it is a family. I've made some of the greatest friends I've ever had through this club. Through the website even, and we're not in it for the glory. We're in it for those little moments that make you erupt in joy and the friendship. And that's what makes West Ham for me.
So true. It's so true. And you're right. So those 2-3 times a season that we turn up, that's what it is, 2 or 3 times that we actually turn up. But it's when, isn't it? It's when we turn up.
You don't know who, you don't know when.
No.
That's the great mystery about it, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like, when you look, particularly that run-in we had, you knew he was going to turn up at Chelsea. He was going to get something against Chelsea. He just did. But like the Norwich game where we were like played out of our skin, I'd have had us down for a draw at least for that one. You know what I mean? It's so West Ham.
It's just, I mentioned on because we did the live talk through the games on the KUMB.
Yeah.
And I'm still fuming about Norwich. It's my favourite away day. There's so many great pubs around there.
Yeah.
It's not a bad run on the train, It's just a really good away day. And we've never won in the league until this season for, I think, since 1972. And the 1 year we can't go, what bloody well happens?
Yeah, and obviously we won't be able to do it for at least another season. So
exactly, yeah.
But it's the West Ham way. It's the West Ham way, though, isn't it, Steve?
Yes, definitely.
You can't play, and you can't. That's why. If anyone always asks me, who to back at the weekend, never West Ham. Never West Ham.
Yeah.
You just can't. You just don't know. You don't know what way what team's going to turn up.
Exactly. That's the great thing about it.
That is the great thing about it, and they don't. And I think the Liverpools and Man City fans and Man United fans, they just don't get that. They don't get that
No,
sense of excitement.
they've got that sense of entitlement, and that's what really makes me furious about them, because they just expect to turn up to things and win trophies and stuff like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I love West Ham for the way we are, that unpredictability, the camaraderie. I would like to go through one season when we're actually decent and actually win something. But, I think it might get a bit boring after that. Once the glory's gone, let's get back to being the upsetters and having those little moments in life rather than just turn up expecting to win every week.
Just a little bit of glory that we can talk about up to 40 years afterwards, or that's all we need. Once every, like England, the World Cup, in it. Just so that's what we need. Once every 40 years would do us or so. But
yeah, but I think if I don't want us to turn into the likes of Man City and Man United and Liverpool, because they're detested throughout the league for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say, but I'd rather be West Ham than anyone else in this.
Oh, definitely. And you're right. It's not just about that side, but as you said, it's the community side. And obviously, through the website, as you said, you met so many great friends and just hammers across the world. And that's what it's all about. That's what I sort of get out of this sort of whole channel, is just meeting people all over the world who just, the only thing that connects them is a little crest, really, that they support. Everything else is like they might be in the middle of India or I don't know, in the middle of Texas, but they all support West Ham, and that's what's really surprised me, is just how big our fan base is, because I never really thought it was that big. I thought it was big, but not like this big geographically. It's huge.
Yeah, I actually think. I mean, when we moved to the Olympic Stadium, everyone said, "Oh, you ain't going to fit it. You ain't going to fit it." But we would, right? And again, going back to the success thing, right? We fit it, and we filled the bowl in on a regular basis, and we was pretty much garbage most of the time. Imagine how many people we could try and get into that ground, and how many demand for tickets if we was actually decent for a little bit. And when we went to the playoff final, we could have sold the whole of Wembley. People underestimate the strength of our support, and obviously the move hasn't gone well for one reason or the other, and a lot of people lapse from going now.
Yeah.
But if you could kind of entice them back, our fan base is far, far stronger than a lot of people give us credit for.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's one of those things, isn't it? It's when the team are performing well, the stadium's the last thing that people talk about.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's been unfortunate. If we were, Redknapp era-esque, 5th, 6th, 7th, 10th, whatever, the stadium, people would maybe grumble, but it wouldn't be as much of a grumble as 2 or 3 relegations, dogfights in the last couple of years, isn't it? That's basically West Ham, basically.
It's divert me. It wasn't a pleasant experience, and it was always going to take a lot of time for fans to get used to the new environment. We won't go into the other stuff about promises made and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
But it has made the ability to moan about things a lot easier in the last few years than perhaps we would have liked.
Yeah.
And things need sorting out, but it will come. It will come.
It will come, and I'm an eternal optimist when it comes to West Ham. So it's like after every season finishes, it's like, right, okay, next season's our season, and I've just got a feeling about this season. I don't know why. About 3 games in, it'll be completely changed and it'll be back to normal. But I don't know why. I don't know why.
That long. It only takes one game if you're back down to earth again, isn't it?
Well, Newcastle, I think, bloody hell, that's a 6-pointer already. First game of the season, isn't it? Wednesday. But we'll see what happens. They're doing all right pre-season. They've undefeated. So, through to the Betway Cup final as well, again.
I know. I mean, that silverware is racking up. That Betway Cup. Which that should be round the side of the stadium.
Yeah.
Where's it? well, because I'm gutted that it's not lined up on there. You know?
Yeah, I mean that's European glory. That's the last
Yeah.
thing we've won since '80. So I'm surprised that's not up there. But you think, I suppose, when you have 3 winners as well, don't you? The Intertator Cup that year, if I remember, there was 3 of us that won. There's 3
but we
finals.
mattered. So
Yeah, with the one that
we're the first
mattered.
English club, I think, first and only English club to win it as well. So be proud of your little achievements.
Take that. Yeah, it's the thing. You've got to take them when they come. You have to take them when they come, Steve. Steve, we see the West Ham shirt. We know all the news at Laura Brown stuff you do. The first question I always ask everyone, he says, 10 minutes into the interview, it's not too bad for me this time, is why is West Ham your club? What's like your origin story?
Sadly, my parents weren't born in Barcelona, so local club is purely geography. Born in Plaistow, brought up in Canning Town and Stratford. When we emigrated to Dagenham, so I really had no choice, Yeah. And also, when I was young, my parents obviously at work, so my grandmother and my uncles looked after me quite a lot. And the journey from where we lived in Stratford to where my nan was in East Ham used to go on the S1 bus route. And that S1 used to go past this massive thing, like big claret and blue stadium kind of thing. And once I got the correlation between like what that stadium was and when I went around my uncle's, sport was always on the TV, You couldn't move watching football, and it was cricket and rugby on, but I was always football from the age of 2 or 3. And once I got that link between that big building, I saw people milling about on a Saturday afternoon, and the football, and my uncle supporting West Ham and all, and it was a natural thing, I'm still gutted I weren't born in Barcelona, but
Yeah, you would have had a better time of it. Nicer weather as well.
Exactly. But,
yeah, but I mean, end of the day, yes, you could have watched Guardiola, Iniesta, Xavi, Stoichkov. You could have watched Messi, but I mean, end of the day, you got to see, Gary Breen. You got to see Paul Hilton. You got to see some players. So
Titi Kamara, Raggy Soma,
all the greats. Raggy Soma. That's a good shout. I remember Titi Kamara's debut. I remember going to Leicester away. It was a Christmas. It was a Christmas game or over the Christmas period. And I've got a feeling that might have been his debut. And because I just remember just vividly laughing, just laughing at the fact that we had Titi Kamara playing for us. But bless him. Exactly. So you got to give your yin and yang. Nice weather, but you wouldn't have got to see Roger Johnson playing the claret and blue shirt. So
exactly.
He swings and roundabouts, really. Oranges and lemons and all that. Do you remember your first game, Steve?
Yeah, it was Boxing Day 1983. We played Southampton at home. And as is the West Ham way, we lost 1-0.
Oh, very good.
But 5 days later, because it was the bloke my dad used to work with who took me. He took me first ever, and he just saw that I was really hooked by the atmosphere. I think I spent more of the time watching the crowd as I did the football that day.
Yeah.
But 5 days later, we had Tottenham at home, and he went, "Would you like to come again?" And I went, "Yeah, of course I would." And we won 4-1 that day. And I don't think life's ever got any better, to be honest. That was an amazing game. It's still one of the highlights of my West Ham career. I always say it's a career because it feels like a bloody job at times.
No, I agree. I always call it a career because I think it is a career. You're right. It's like, most people, you think when you retire, you never retire from West Ham. It's always there, so it's even worse than a career. Typical West Ham, first. But I mean, by losing at your first game, at least that sort of set you in along the path of being a West Ham fan for the rest of your fan career. So it's like, and definitely, then obviously turning up against Tottenham again. That's pretty normal for a West Ham team. So
that's standard for the rest of my supporting life. So I knew what was coming, really.
Yeah.
It was, but I was from that very moment walking that ground, just. Sensing the atmosphere and the walk down Green Street and just it's the sights, the sound, it's everything, you know. As soon as I walked in here, I felt at home, and that never left me at the bowling, you know. And as I've grown older, got to know more people, it goes back again. It's like a family. You feel at home, you know. You can go up and down the country. I mean, I used to go to away games quite often, and there was times when my friends couldn't go, work commitments and stuff. But I had no qualms about travelling up to Middlesbrough or Newcastle on my own, because I knew on the journey there, once I got the ground in and around the stadium, I'd bump into people that I would know, either personally or just by sight. And you know, that's how you make friends, and that's why I feel this is a family.
Oh, it is. Oh, absolutely no doubt. You know, I've been very fortunate enough since doing this that I've been sort of let into a lot of, you know, private groups on Facebook and stuff like that, and it is just a big family. And you know, when we did a big charity event, obviously last week for Iron Supporting Food Banks, and that was just an epitome of the West Ham family, because like we had different YouTubers, we had people phoning me up, donating stuff, people dropping stuff off at my house, you know, people I've never met physically, you know, turning up at my house. You know, Canning Town Len turned up at my house. You know what I mean? It's like, and so you know, it's brilliant. But it's so true. I mean, even before, you know, you've seen people who obviously had a lot, you know, obviously during these last sort of few months, a lot of tragedy and stuff, and you just see everyone just clubbing together and supporting everyone and keeping the banter going and stuff. And I think that's what people miss, is that sort of human interaction, you know, face to face rather than Zoom. And as you said, you're doing the watch alongs, which is great, and obviously other channels do it as well. And it tries to keep some sort of that match day banter, isn't it, along? And they're good fun. They are good fun, those watch alongs. I love them.
They're a bit tense at times, and it makes you appreciate the guys who do it professionally, because sometimes you get thrown a question, I just think like, I don't know, I'm watching on the TV, I can't really see, you know. It's like, it's very tough going, but no, it's hugely enjoyable doing it.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I know. We were doing some. I know some of the other channels have been doing the, obviously the watch alongs for the friendly games, and I popped in on one of them because I was at the ground for the Brentford game, and I popped in because it was like absolute I mean, it was just nothing to do, and I was just sat there with them. It was just really funny because I was like watching it, and I'm like 3 minutes ahead of everyone else. So they're watching my reaction to see if West Ham had scored or there's a close goal, and yeah, no, it's good fun. It's good fun. It's all banter in it. Everyone has a giggle, and I don't think we actually commentated on the game. We were just talking about just life in general. Oh shit, the game's on. Brentford on attack. Anyway, back to your car, Nigel. That's still what you know. Oh, I just love it, and everyone loved it. It was good fun. Right, Steve. Let's talk about your 11. So I'm looking forward to this because you know, not being, you know, I'm not, you know, you're an experience. You've had a long career. Let's just say that from sort of the early 80s.
Yeah.
So a nice span.
I'd say like my first game was in 80, like Boxing Day 83. During the 85-86 season, much to my dismay, and it's typical of me being a West Ham fan, I had a job over at Dagenham Football Club as a ball boy that year. So, and our games were clashed with the home games at West Ham. So I only got to about 3 or 4 that season, which just sums me up basically, doesn't it? You know?
Yeah.
And I started going regularly the following season, and from between 89 up until obviously this year, I think I've only missed about 6 home games in that time. Wow. So I've racked up a few. Obviously, I'm a parent now, so I mean, my boy, he's 20. He comes to me every week. He's incredibly hooked. My daughter's been a few times. My youngest son, he's been a few times. He enjoys it. So yeah, my parenthood was supposed to take the 4, but much to my shame, sometimes West Ham went a little bit first at times. So luckily my wife's a bit understanding in that matters. But so I've racked up. If you include friendlies and testimonials, which I don't normally. I mean, I've done over 1,000 games, I'd say.
Wow. Yeah. That's mental.
But I think my core years really started about 87, 88 onwards.
Yeah, I figured it out the other day. Someone asked me how many times I'd played "I'm Forever Brave Bubbles" at Upton Park and London Stadium, and I tried to figure it out, and I think it was over at least 1,500 times I've played that song, and it's just crazy when you sit down and think about 1,000 games, you know, times 90 times the 50, how much time how many years you've watched West Ham solidly. It's mental. It's like my wife, she watched like, I don't know, the box sets, and she's watched the box set on Netflix in about 2 or 3 days, and you figure it out. Joe, you've watched like 24 hours solidly in the last week. That's a day. That's the whole of Wednesday. It's scary when you think of it like that. But I mean, in terms of the My Hammers 11, I mean, the only criteria is really that you have to be alive to have seen them play. Not necessarily seen them live, but being alive to see them play. The reason why I say that is obviously some people are unfortunate or fortunate, depends how you look at it, to never have seen West Ham play live because they might be in Mumbai or in Texas, or maybe they've only seen 2 or 3 games. So that would very much diminish their options. So that's the only rule. But, formation I'm not fussy about anymore as well now, Steve. So, I've got soft in my old age. So that's basically the only thing. And it's your 11, so you can talk about whoever you want. Doesn't have to be the best players. Could just be the players that are closest to your heart. Might be the worst players. We had Graham doing a Roggins 11 or a locked up 11. I think he called them. Whatever, and that's the fun. You can do whatever you want, Steve. So we'll start off in goal. Who's in goal for the Steve 11?
Right. So I'm going for a 4-4-2, and I'm going with players that I love and admire.
Yeah.
Now in goal, I had a bit of a tough choice for this one. There's 3 main candidates for me. Phil Parkes was a natural, and he would have made the number 1 slot, but I really only saw him when the knees had started to go.
Yeah.
And he was still a great keeper. It's just that he wasn't at that really kind of superb level of that first 7 or 8 years he was with us. So Big Phil misses out, unfortunately, as does Rob Green, who I thought was a pretty immense keeper for us. And what I loved about Rob Green and all is that he not only did he keep us in a lot of games, but in the Arsenal game at the Emirates, it's a standout performance for me. But when he made mistakes, because all keepers do, he used to turn around to the Bobby Moore stand where I sat and put his hand up and say sorry. You don't see keepers doing that. But so I used to love him for that as well. But my number 1 is Ludo.
Yeah.
And it's pure and simple. Obviously, I've just said when Phil Parkes was in goal, he was creaking a little bit, and he was the signs of wear and tear crept in. All of a sudden, this massive geezer come in. Couldn't speak a word of English. All he could hear was keeper. He just had to kick the ball further than I've seen Phil Parkes kick it in 7 or 8 years. He's just an immense shot stopper, and I grew emotionally attached to Ludo. So much so, at the Mark Noble testimonial, when he went back, made that appearance late on, didn't he? I think he played the last 15, 20 minutes. When everyone started singing the song, my eyes were welling up. I got all really emotional about that. I just love the man. He's just an absolutely immense man. I'm lucky to have met him a couple of times and all. Wonderful keeper, wonderful person.
Yeah, he is, and that's the one thing I really didn't think about when I started doing this show, was hearing about the individual stories. Because obviously, you've met him a few times. People have met someone like Ludo, and just he comes across. I mean, he contacted me because I asked him to come on the show, but he says my English is so crap. I don't like. It's like fair enough. I get that. That's all right. We'll get him here eventually. We'll force him. But yeah, I mean, talking to like the Scandinavian Hammers and the time he had for the Scandinavian Hammers. Literally coming back from like a player dinner back to what was the hotel then at the bowling, and spent 3 or 4 hours with the guys, and just such a lovely bloke. He just. I mean, I mean, obviously, I lived around where he used to live around that area, and his son was at school, and we would always play that school, and it was always, we knew because Ludo would turn up and Martin would be there, and he was all right. He wasn't a bad player, Martin, but yeah, no, he was just a lovely bloke, absolutely superb bloke, and yeah, and it was one of those things where I think with Ludo, you're right, he was just the first of a new modern era, of these sort of athletic looking goalkeepers where Phil Parks was like, even Shilton and stuff, they're just quite imposing, like bulky characters, and this, like as you said, just, and the way he used to kick it as well, he used to kick it really funny, didn't he, like almost like on the side and just wallop it, as you said, and love him, absolutely love him. Right, okay.
Yeah, just amazing.
Oh, brilliant keeper. Right, okay, let's go left back then. So if we're playing 4-4-2, Steve, who's your left back?
This is the easiest choice out of the whole 11. I've never seen another left back as good as him for West Ham, and I really don't think I will ever again. The one and only Julian Dix.
Oh, sorry, I was Raspberry Rat. Sorry, Julian Dix. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, what a guy! Dixon, from his debut, I think it was at home to Evan, wasn't it, when he made his debut back in about '88, and he just looked a natural West Ham player. He had a wonderful left foot. He had passion. He had desire, an eye for goal. He's an absolute warrior and all. I mean, this is the thing about my team. Throughout my team, I've got 3 or 4 the core of players that I would put my life on the line with, because I knew they'd back me up every single time. Julian Dix is possibly the greatest left back never to play for England, and
definitely,
he's just an amazing player, wasn't he? And also decent taste in music and all. I mean, I'm not the world's biggest Maiden fan, but a couple of my friends are. But I admire what they do. That's kind of up the alley that I like. So that's the ice on the cake for me. Julian Dix is an amazing player, and I feel privileged to have watched him.
Definitely. And obviously a dad again at 53.
Yep. Yeah, you should know better by now.
He should know better by now, particularly he's got to try and guide West Brom to Premier League safety next season. No, I was having another kid. Yeah, it's fine. Could not do that at all. Could not do it. I'm looking forward to obviously welcoming him and Slav back as well, because it was right. Julian's in. Let's go right back then, Steve. Let's go the other side.
So for me, there was 2 choices. Unfortunately, Tim Breaker misses out. Again, Tim Breaker was a great player, and he came in exactly the right moment. He was like a machine, wasn't he? He was just up and down that right wing, defended well, attacked well. He was a consummate professional. But for me, Ray Stewart, because when I first started going, he was this tough tackling, no nonsense Scottish kind of, not book psycho. He had that streak about him where you think, I wouldn't want to mess with him, but versatile. Along with Julian, the 2 greatest penalty takers of the same West Ham. He was just so dependable, and what great value we got. We're signed from Dundee United for about £400,000, and we got 10, 15 years worth out of him. What a great player, versatile. I'd say versatile, and also again, I've met him at the West Ham event before, and what a bloody nice bloke and all.
Wonderful chap, wonderful bloke. There's no 2 ways about it. He's a lovely guy. He's coming on eventually, coming on the channel eventually, but he don't like doing the Zoom things. That's the trouble. Doesn't like doing all this. So, but bless him, he phoned me up to say, "Look, Russ, I'm not ignoring you. I'd love to do it, but I just don't like doing it." But then we must have chatted for about an hour and a half about West Ham. He's like, that's what I mean. I never met the man, but he was a beautiful man, and obviously watching a lot of the high, a lot of obviously old football, which you did knock down because there's nothing else to watch. What a great sort of penalty taker, and nerves are still, what apparent nerves are still, like obviously that sort of that penalty, in the quarter, is it the semis or the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, and last minute, yeah,
last in the League Cup final, and I think his ratios. I think he only missed about, was it 8 out of 92 or something like that?
mental.
It's phenomenal, and he struck a ball so hard as well. Again, going back to the second game we went to, that 4-1 over Tottenham, I think he scored. Well, he definitely scored that game, and unfortunately, he was in a time when the TV cameras weren't there.
Yeah.
But he hit a rocket from about 35 yards, and that has stuck with me forever. And I just wish I could watch that again, But live at the time, as what was I, 11-year-old, that was just an amazing moment.
Picture, yeah.
The whole ground erupted, and I thought, this is it. This is for me.
Yeah. Well, that was like my first game. The first goal that I saw was the opposition. The opposition scored after about 30 seconds. And I remember that my granddad went to me, turned around, that's it, get used to that. You've got that for the rest of your life. I didn't believe him until now, obviously. But it was then a Julian Dix sort of 35 thunderbolt, that he would do more than regular. And as you said, the places are right. And I can still see it now in my head because I was in the East Stand. I can still see it cut, And it's weird how things like that just stick in your mind. But yeah, all right. And obviously, what I like about Ray as well, he's always really nicely turned out. He's always in a nice suit. He always looks after his appearance. He's a lovely bloke.
Yeah.
Can't understand a word he's saying though, but it don't matter apart from that. Okay, raising. Let's go centre backs. Who have you got centre backs in, Steve?
Right. The man who misses out for me was Mr. Bilic. Didn't have a very long stay for us, but
No.
I was just completely enamoured by him. He was a world apart when he played for us. It's with regret I don't pick him. But Mr. Alvin Martin gets in as one of my choices.
Yep.
He was there from 78 through to the mid-90s, and he seemed to get better with age. Obviously he's slow and a little bit bolder, but positionally he was superb. Oh, man, what a player! There's only one thing I've got against Alvin. Right? I don't know if you remember when Jan Molby joined Liverpool from, some club in Denmark, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Within 6 weeks, I think he went from speaking like completely Danish into being a complete Scouser. And I just thought, how did that happen? Alvin's been living in London for like the best part of nearly 40 years.
Yeah.
And he's still got a Danish accent. I mean,
even
come
more
on,
so.
mate. Lose it to some please, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like when the English guys go to America and end up becoming more like Danny Dyer because people think they're Australian. That's what I always used to do. When I was in America, they would always think I was Australian. And then I'd go really, really, really Mockney just to make it sound like I was really from London or from England, and try to explain from Essex rather than London. It's like, didn't know what Essex was. But yeah, I know what you mean. You think he would have at least it would softened the Scouse accent since then, but it's so harsh.
Not a bit of it.
I don't think it will ever. Yeah, I don't think you ever would do, to be honest. Or it was like.
I love about Alvin is that he still loves his club.
Oh yeah.
And I think that was shown after the Chelsea game at Stamford Bridge last season.
Yeah.
When him and David in the stands, that for me encapsulates what West Ham's all about. That was one of the most heartwarming things I think I've seen in a football ground for a long, long while, and that says a lot, not only about the club but about Alvin himself. Obviously it was his son; he was immensely proud. But I think that lengthy time out at West Ham is ingrained in his heart. And,
Definitely.
Yeah, that man is a legend. Absolute legend for me, Alvin Martin.
Definitely. And you're right, he's sort of an adopted Cockney, isn't he? So as you said, he's lived here for 40 odd years. He still lives in the area. You're right. And I think there's a sense when that Chelsea game, it was his son, but it was his son playing for his team, which his son supported as well. And it was like a real family moment, wasn't it? It was lovely.
Yeah.
It was lovely. Yeah. Okay. Right, Alvin's in. Who's Alvin partnering in the centre then, Steve?
Okay, my favourite ever player. Um, people, I still think people underestimated his contribution to this club. Steve Potts.
No.
Um, again, a lengthy servant for us, but what a player! I mean, he started
Yeah.
off as and you'd probably agree with me, as a right back, he was a little bit on the iffy side. You know, he was
Yeah.
a little bit suspect, a little bit unsure of himself. But a couple of injuries and a couple of positional changes. I think we had a cup game against Aldershot back in the early 90s, and he got shifted into centre midfield. And I said the quality of the opposition was quite low, but he just looked like a more natural player in that central role.
Yeah.
And a few weeks later, injuries at the centre half, and he dropped back in that centre half position.
Yeah.
And despite his diminutive stature, what a player! You know, he just
Yeah.
looked like an absolute natural. And for a 4-year period in like the early to mid 90s, when he won Amateur Year twice, he was runner up once or
Something like that, yeah.
twice too in a
Something like that, yeah.
4-year period. He never got his name sung from the stands, which kind of.
No, you're right. You're right, yeah.
Um, but he was just quietly so efficient, you know, dependable. I think I can count on one hand the mistake he made. I don't need to bring that up when it was, but yeah, what a player. I mean, and I think the biggest testimony I can give him is during that early 90 period. I think one of the league's best strikers, Ian Wright, much as I hate to admit it, it was quality. It took, I think, Ian Wright about 10 games before he actually got the better of Potsy. He actually managed to notch a goal at Arsenal. Potsy always had him in his pocket. He just used to like let the likes of Alvin, Mark Reaper, whoever playing alongside him go up for the headers. Potsy just to drop off 2 or 3 yards, any kind of error, he used to try and sweep up and tidy up. It was just so quietly efficient and deadly in a way. You know, I just wish he'd scored a couple more goals. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
You know, but he's one player that I've never met who I think I'd be so starstruck I'd end up crying if I ever met him. You know,
Yeah.
I've so much admiration for that man. It is unreal. But yeah, he'd be the first time in my team shirt every single time.
Really. And obviously still in the club under 23s coach as well, which is brilliant. You know, I'm working on him. Yeah, I've got friends in places working on him because I think it'd be really good. I think it'd be really interesting to hear about because you don't hear Stevie a lot, do you? On interviews and stuff, and so.
I mean, I consider myself a quite quiet and shy person normally, and he's very much the same ilk. I've been told. So yeah, I mean. Yeah, just what an absolute legend for me. An absolute legend.
Absolutely, definitely. And you're right. And you spent, obviously when Breaker came into the, as you said, there's a few, and obviously when Breaker came in at right back, then Stevie was never going back into right back, as you said, with the injuries and stuff as well, and just read the game really well, wasn't he? Just read the game fantastically.
Yeah, it's amazing what a position changer of about 10 yards can do, because he went from being an average player. For me, into one of the finest players that I've ever seen. So,
well, I mean, it's that
little shift in position made it.
You're right. Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, it's a similar thing. I mean, Deck was always going to be a first teamer, but from being a centre back, moving him a few yards forward, he just has a total different influence to the game, and it's I'm very much in the camp of do not put him back into centre back, please, Mr. Lampard or Mr. Southgate, because I just think England and West Ham and eventually when he goes to another club, we know he's going eventually, would be a loss because I think he's such a good position. He plays such a unique position in that central midfield. Anyway, we move on. So that's your back four. That's your goalkeeper. Midfield, left midfield maybe first.
Left midfield. This was an incredibly tough one. I had 2 players down. I think if it hadn't been for the fact that I obviously caught him towards the tail end of his time at West Ham, when injuries had took their toll a little bit, it would have been Dev every single day of the week. But for me, and I know it's not the most popular choice ever, but Mr. Payet.
I agree.
I mean, we only had him for just over a year, but that season and a bit was probably technically the greatest player I've seen play for us.
I agree.
I've never seen a West Ham player who I thought, when he was on the pitch, he could single-handedly turn the game around on his own.
Yeah.
Obviously we've got one or two we've had like that, but every time he was there, you never thought he was beaten. I mean,
no,
we're not really good at coming from behind in games, right? We never have been. But that season, we used to go 2-0 down. I used to turn around a bit and go, "It's fine. Jimmy's out there. We're going to be fine here." The amount of time he did it.
Yeah, it's true.
And you throw in them free kicks. I mean, again, it's not something we've actually thrived on. I know we notch one or two a season if we're lucky, but he's banging in like free kicks from impossible distances and angles for fun. What a player! I'm just like, we're obviously, no one really knows what went on behind the scenes and
no
the reason for the departure, but what a player! And I'm still stunned we actually had him. You know, it brought so much joy to me in that 15-18 month period that, God dear. Again, I might burst into tears in a minute.
No, it's true. It was just, I think it's part of, you know, he was part of that season story, that we wouldn't have had that season without him, and I'll always be thankful for that. And you say it's an unpopular choice. To be honest, most people put Payet in their team because he was technically the best player I've personally ever seen at West Ham, and I think a lot of people as well. Yeah. And just for the whole extra, it's almost, if it wasn't our last season at the Bowling, and he played 18 months, he may well have got lost in the, you know, in the because it was so good, but he was even elevated even more because of it being the last season at Upton Park, and obviously the first one at London Stadium, and he scored against that Middlesbrough goal where he beat everyone twice and stuff like that, and having a player who was, you know, a Ballon d'Or nominee as well. It's like, that's never happened at West Ham, or likely to ever happen again. And, you know, a man who was like, you know, one of the top guys at the Euros as well. Again, never happens at West Ham. Yep. You know, when people are slapping your back because he scored a goal for, you know, well done in the pub. Well done, Russ. You know, like, because Payet scored a free kick for France. It was like, I did all of that. Yeah, it was all me. But no, he was just a fantastic football player. Not the passion of like a Di Canio, but like, he was just mesmeric, and he just did it from. I remember that Southend friendly. I think he whips in a free kick, and I think he whips in like a cross for a goal, or whatever. And from then on, you know, from then it was Arsenal. He was beating all those players, like, and then Liverpool away. Yeah, weird. Yeah, people moan about our sort of season, you know, our gate runs of games. That season, was it Arsenal away, Liverpool away? I think we played Man City away. All within the first four. Yeah.
All three of them in one league game away from home after the other.
Yeah.
And what we'd give to have that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'll just move on, mate. I want to cry.
Yeah. All right. Let's go right mid. Let's go right wing, right midfield.
Okay. I might have to make a last minute change here.
Oh.
So I feel gutted I haven't picked Dev.
Like late fitness test. You put Dev on the bench if you've already got a right winger on. Like, you can have a bench player if you want. It's up to you, man.
No, I'm actually going to go with Dev.
Yeah, okay.
Right. And apologies to Trevor Sinclair, because, sorry, Trev, but no, he's having Devonshire, mate. You know? The man who glided up and down either wing.
Yeah.
Like you're just floating on air. As I said, man, I've caught most of his post-Wigan injury career. He reinvented himself a little bit. Obviously, he wasn't relying on the pace as much because his knee had gone a little bit. But But what an another amazing player. And so technically gifted. Oh, yeah. Again, it's just majestic. I mean, can you imagine actually watching the side? We have high A one wing, Devonshire on the other wing. You know,
But on like the modern playing surface as well, like the bowling greens.
exactly. You know?
Could you imagine that's the one thing? That's one thing I didn't really grasp as much until watching. So obviously we've had interviewed Dev and Macca and people like that, and they talk about that Chelsea game when they beat them 4-0 at Chelsea, and the mud, and it was just like a sand pit. It was all, and they went back and looked at the highlights, and I was like, oh my god, you know what they were doing on those bogs was incredible.
It's not. I mean, not only the pitches, but also they was dealing with basically thugs at times. You know, they was allowed to get away with so much, which is why Dev's career sadly got hindered for a little, about 18 months. But what an amazing player! And if he'd have been playing today, he would have thrived, wouldn't he? He would have. It'd been just an absolute joy to watch.
Yeah.
So I'd like to say apologies to Trevor Sinclair because he was a shoo-in, because when he joined us, well, again, versatile, eye for goal, tricky, just a quality player. So sorry, Trev. It's Alan Devonshire, mate. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Trev, but it's Dev. There we go. It rhymes. All right. Okay. Central midfield then. Central midfield then. Who are we going to go, Steve, for?
Okay. Again, can I make an apology first?
Of course you can. Notable mentions.
I'd like to apologise to Ian Bishop, who during the early mid-90s.
You're killing me, Steve. Do you know why you're killing me? Because Bish always retweets when he's in the team, and Trevor always retweets when he's in the team. God. Anyway, carry on, man.
Anyway, that's me bench. No, but Bish, what an amazing player. I mean, he always wanted the ball. Even if he has like one of his poor games, he never hid. You know, and everyone said like he was just like there playing that, but he could get his foot stuck in when he wanted to. But when he had the ball, he had so much time and vision. I'm so gutted that I'm not putting him in, but it will become apparent.
Okay.
Because these two gentlemen I'm picking, the centre of midfield, they work as a pair. First of all, Billy Bonds. I don't have to say anything. A true warrior, a leader of men. Probably one of the nicest guys in football. Someone who, again, can bring me to tears. I mean, opening the Billy Bonds stand.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Seeing the man that I thought was virtually indestructible, that emotional.
Yeah.
It triggered off a bit of a chain reaction, the Bobby Moore, I've got to say. Because, you don't have to say anything about Bill other than he's Mr. West Ham. And in the role that I've got him playing, obviously, everyone thinks he's just a hard man. All he was a bit of a bruiser, and he could play football. You know, he was an incredibly good player. It just that because he was such a tough nut, that people kind of associate him with that more than the actual footballing ability. But you don't get to 600-700 games at the highest level without being a terrific player.
No.
But alongside him, and the reason that builds him as a little bit of a protector as well as a player, is the one and only Trevor Brooking, who obviously I didn't get to see many times when I first started going, because he retired the first season I started attending games. But I saw enough of him, and even this was the tail end of his career, I saw enough of him in person to realise that all those things I'd seen on TV weren't just like, you know, when you're a kid and you kind of think everything on TV is sometimes a myth.
Yeah.
When you see that man in action with a football at his feet, a joy to behold, you know.
Yeah.
Again, going back, one of the nicest people you ever wish to meet, and I've been fortunate enough to do that. Just what an incredibly talented, gifted, humble, and amazing player and person.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. Exactly.
As a kid growing up, one of the players I always wanted to see before, at the ground was Trevor Brooking.
Yeah.
And I managed to do it a few times, not as many as I would have liked to, but I'll be able to take that to my grave. I actually saw him in person, and I'm a richer man for it.
Yeah. And I mean, just a West Ham man, you know what I mean? It's like nowadays, when teams get relegated, they're off ski, aren't they? It's like, but he stayed there and he still played regularly for England, and didn't want to leave when offers were coming in for the Forest or Liverpool, wherever, just such a unique person, so unique.
Very,
yeah. Okay, let's go up front. Who have we got up front then, Steve?
Okay. I think the only person I really have to apologise for leaving out is Tony Cottee, because throughout my early years...
That's another one. Tony Cottee always reads... Do you know what?
I'm going to have 3 subs. I've got my 3 subs.
All right, TC's not in.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Tony. Obviously, when I was growing up, goals law, but mainly because my first choice, Paolo Di Canio.
Yeah.
For that period when he joined us for the next 2-3 years, I think it was probably the first world-class player I've seen play for us. And again, like Payet, the ground lit up when the ball was at his feet. The whole ground lit up. You just didn't know. You knew something special could happen at any moment.
Yeah.
It was. I know I keep repeating the same thing. What a fantastic player! But he was. He got the ball, and you just thought, "Whoa, what's going to happen here?" But you combine the ability with the passion. Everyone said he didn't play up north, but I can remember going to Millers when him scoring the winner up there, and Millers was far north as I ever want to go again, to be honest. I mean, what else can I say about him? That, again, an absolute West Ham legend. There's a few people on KUMB who very much anti Di Canio, and I can never understand it, because for that 2 or 3 year period, he gave me so much joy. He was just a world class, amazing player. He might have been a handful for a pitch, but you could get away whatever you wanted, mate, because you are superb.
Yeah,
it's
you're
my
totally
first
right.
striker.
Yeah, you're totally right. When they say he couldn't do it up north, he played. How many years he played Celtic? Do you know what I mean? People forget Scotland's as north you can get, mate. You know what I mean? But no, I know what you mean. I totally agree with what you say. I think Payet was technically the best player I've ever seen, but Di Canio was the best player, because I think you've got technicality, but then you've got passion, and I just think you need both to be to be ingrained as a West Ham legend. You need not only the ability, because we don't mind if people haven't got the ability, but they're still playing and they're putting a shift in. You sort of, they get let off there a little bit. You know what I mean? Because they're trying, but very occasionally you'll get a guy who puts it in. Although sometimes he's a bit temperamental, that's Paolo. But puts it in, but has incredible technical ability. And those guys are always end up being West Ham legends, just because they do both. They have the ability and they try as well. And he was just a soap opera, a one man soap opera. That's why I loved him, because you got excited. You got to the game, and you knew Paolo was playing. You didn't know what was going to happen. It was that whole era, that whole Redknapp era, was just a crazy, crazy time to be a West Ham fan.
You go to football to be entertained, and that man delivered in immense quantities. But he also got us. I know.
Yeah, you're right.
It's an idea that you see that all these foreign players come over and kiss the badge, pump the heart, and all that. I think he actually meant it, and I still think he meant it.
Yeah.
And he got us. He
did.
So every day of the week, Paolo would be on my side.
Yeah, good shout. All right, who's Paolo going to partner in the middle, in that front then, Steve? Last player.
And this one is with a little bit of a sadness, I'm saying this, because he never achieved what he could have done, and that's Dean Ashton.
Yeah.
He was sadly taken from, I know it sounds like I've wrote him off and passed him away there, but
I know what you mean.
Brooklyn point of view,
yeah,
he was loss not just to West Ham but to England as well, because
Definitely.
he had everything. He had everything. Positionally, he was as astute as a positional forward as I've seen. Intelligent. He was great in the air. He was decent on the floor. People say he was slow. Like, he wasn't the quickest in the world, but I remember a goal he scored for us against Everton where he ran the length of the pitch using sheer strength to hold off. I can't remember the defender's name now because I didn't need to know, because Ashton just muscled him all the way for like 30, 40 yards.
Yeah.
But again, what a player. And it's just so sad that injury had tarnished and ruined his career when it did. Because he was not only West Ham's number 9 period, but England's number 9 as well.
Yeah, I mean it's just so West Ham, weren't it? You know, he gets caught up to the England squad. He gets completely taken out by the smallest player ever. You know what I mean? It's not like he was like a big defender. It was Sean fucking White Phillips. You know what I mean? It's like
it's such a shame because again, he could have gone on to achieve so much. And like I said, not just from a West Ham point of view. I'm selfish and I always put West Ham first. But from an international point of view, at the time England were crying out for
that partner for Rooney.
Yep, and he would have filled that role better than anyone I can think of.
Yeah, no doubt. And you're right. He wasn't the quickest, but he had enough pace to get past people. It's that 2 yards. I remember that you know, he was skillful enough. I remember obviously the semi-final where we did the centre backs in in the FA Cup and and did the and it was just and obviously the bicycle kick against Man United and obviously Martin Noble testimonial bicycle kick. It's like still had it. And it was. He's and again a lovely bloke and speaks really highly of West Ham and stuff, and they all do. Everyone, it seems like that. Everyone you've picked, would speak very highly of West Ham because they just got the fans, and the fans got them. Yeah. And
I think it goes back to the family thing. They felt at home. They felt comfortable.
Yeah, good shout.
In that environment, I mean, we can go back to the Boleyn days when you was right on top of the pitch and the players, and if you was an opposition player, you feel intimidated. As a home player and a fan favourite, that must have made you feel 1,000 miles tall because that bond between fan and player, which we'll never see again in the modern game, we won't see it.
No.
The bond between fan and player was so great and so immense that when you listen to any interview with, say, Alvin, Alan Devonshire, even David Cross, who I'm a massive fan of, and he could have made my 11 any day of the week.
Oh, Crossy loves, Crossy attributes his whole career, West Ham career, to being for the fans. When I interviewed him, we'd finished the interview, and he said, "No, I want to talk more about the fans." So I had to record it for another 20 minutes while he spoke about the fans. It's brilliant.
That one a couple of weeks ago, and again, that speaks so highly, not just of the man himself, but how we can positively impact our side, and it's the family thing, isn't it? Because it must reflect. Well, it certainly did a few years ago. I mean, it's very much harder nowadays because there's such a gap between the ordinary working man and players nowadays.
Yeah,
it's hard to get that connection going. But
also it's like when you was at Upton Park, and as you said, it's not just West Ham. It's indicative of modern game. When we used to at West Ham, used to put your hands for the railing to get a sign, and they all would. Away players, home players, they all would. Maybe the away players as much, but and things like that. And obviously now you don't get that. It's and as you said, they all live in nice apartments in Canary Wharf now. They don't live. I mean, I used to live in Loughton, and when I interviewed Shaka, I used to serve Shaka at Safeways, and Samasi Abu and Paul Kitson and people like that. And you'd into that. They'd almost be. They were like a normal person, It's like rather than this sort of uber level of celebrity status, really. And you wouldn't see, I don't know, Lanzini going to the Waitrose and picking up a tub of hummus. You'd get on Deliveroo, or it's not just, and it's not just. It's just modern football in general. You know, and I just think it's sad because the excitement you get walking down the road, and I don't know, I don't know. Pete Butler's in front of you, or Steve Lomas, and you're like, oh my god, it's Steve Lomas, and they wouldn't mind stopping, and you didn't have a camera phone then, would you? So it's all you get an autograph then rather than a phone. But
there's a little story going back to me. Slaven Bilic almost made my 11. And I hope you don't mind me telling this on a quick, mate.
Not at all.
When Bilic joined us, I was so impressed and amazed by him and his ability, and what an immense player. That during my younger days, I used to buy football shirts galore, and I popped down Carnaby Street and bought a Croatia shirt. And as I walked out Soccer Street, walked over to the pub opposite at Shakespeare's Arms. Me and my mate just grabbed a pint, sitting outside on the table, and my mate just tapped me on the shoulder and pointed down there. And I went, what? Turned around, and there's Slav bowling back down Carnaby Street in a leather jacket, looking like the coolest person I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And my mate just went, whoa, Slav. And he just turned around and walked off. And I thought, you won't see that nowadays, would you? Just
no.
But yeah, that was a immense day, that one.
Yeah, well, that's just awesome. And you just getting it, it's a real sad thing that football's got to that level of status that, you know, you just wouldn't bump it. Well, we wouldn't bump into one anyway because no fuckers around at the moment. But before everything, it's just because it was like it's just so much, as you said, and that just you still talk about that 2 seconds of him noticing you. You still talk about it now, many years later, and it's like I remember meeting Pete. I mean, Pete Butler was the first player I ever met, and I met him at a Junior Hammers birthday party. When you used to go in the little school next door in the hall, and you used to pay like, I don't know, £15 a child. You used to get like a little birthday party of 20 of your mates, and a first team football player would turn up and sign autographs. And like you wouldn't get it now, would you? God no, you wouldn't have. You wouldn't. Could you imagine Balbuena turning up to an Hours Adventure House party or a McDonald's party? Never happened. That's showing my age. House Adventure House, Philip Waters. But yeah, Pete Butler, and I was like, and he played. I think we said on the Tuesday, and he played on the Monday. He still had like a little bit of a black eye, and I was like, oh my god! And it was like, it was just brilliant, and you just don't get it anymore. And it's sad, but as you said, it is what it is now, isn't it? It's nothing to do about it. Just modern football. But yeah, well, oh dear. But anyway, Steve, it's been lovely chatting to you. It's been lovely.
Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
An hour has just passed without really blinking. That's mental, isn't it? Hour and 2 minutes. But anyway, thank you very much, Steve. And obviously, thank you to everyone for watching as well. Like, share, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever, make sure you subscribe to that channel and share it, tell everyone about it. You know, got a few more weeks to all our dreams fade and die as they do every other season, but so we'll keep the positivity going for at least a few weeks. And until next time, from me and Steve, take care everyone, stay safe, come in your wines, and we'll see you again very soon. Take care everyone, see ya, bye bye.